So, let's talk about the book of Leviticus. You know, for a lot of people, it's this part of the Bible that feels, well, kind of strange. It's full of ancient laws that just don't seem to connect with our lives today. But what if I told you that all those rules about worship, about daily life, actually hold the key to one of the biggest questions we can ask? How can we, as imperfect people, ever truly connect with a perfect God? Let's dive in and find out.
Yeah, when you first open it up, Leviticus can feel like reading some ancient legal code. It seems like this long list of outdated laws and really bizarre rituals. But if you look just beneath the surface, you'll see the entire book is laser-focused on one single profound truth. It's explaining how flawed, messy people can actually have a real relationship with a perfect, holy God.
Okay, so to really get a handle on Leviticus, we've got to start with the single most important idea in the whole book, and that's God's holiness. This is the bedrock. It's the foundation that everything else is built on. Now, when we hear the word holy, we usually think of being morally pure or good, right? And that's definitely part of it. But at its absolute core, God's holiness means that He is in a category all by Himself. He's completely separate, completely independent. Think about it this way. An artist is not the same thing as their painting. The creator is totally separate from the creation. God exists apart from everything He made, and He needs nothing from it to exist. He is, in a word, self-existent.
And this is where it gets really fascinating. Check out this contrast. God's holiness is all about His independence. But for people, for us, holiness is the exact opposite. Our holiness comes from our complete and total dependence on Him. We can only be made holy by being connected to the one who is the source of all holiness. It's a total flip.
And this all boils down to the central command of the entire book. God says, "I am the Lord who brought you out of Egypt. Be holy because I am holy." He's basically saying, because I am completely set apart, because I am the source of all life, you are to be set apart too. This wasn't about them trying to earn their salvation. It was about reflecting the character of the God who had already saved them. Their holiness was meant to be their identity.
So you can see the problem this creates, right? How could a dependent, not so holy group of people even get close to a perfectly holy God? Well, the good news is, God didn't leave it up to them to figure it out. He established a very, very specific system.
At the very heart of this system was a special priesthood. God set apart Aaron and his sons to represent the people. But here's the thing. They couldn't just throw on some robes and get to work. Their ordination was this incredibly detailed 7-day ceremony. Every single detail mattered, from the specific offerings to the specific actions. They had to follow God's rules perfectly, because only after this whole divinely approved process could they even begin their work.
And this is absolutely crucial to understand. There was a hard line, a clear separation. The average person couldn't just stroll up to God's presence and offer a prayer. No way. The priests had to be the go-betweens, the mediators, carrying out every single requirement on behalf of the people to make sure their worship was even acceptable.
And please, make no mistake, this was not a casual thing. These instructions from God, they weren't just helpful suggestions. They were life or death commands. The message was crystal clear. Approaching a holy God on your own terms is incredibly, incredibly dangerous.
And if you need an example of just how serious this was, look no further than this terrifying story. Aaron's own sons, priests themselves, Nadab and Abihu, they decided to, well, improvise. They offered unauthorized fire, which means they did something God had not commanded. And the result? It was immediate, and it was shocking. Fire from the Lord consumed them. It's a brutal lesson, but it shows that when it comes to approaching a holy God, our own good ideas and self-styled worship are not just unwelcome, they can be fatal.
Okay, so let's shift gears a bit, because this whole principle, this idea of depending on God's specific commands, it didn't just stop at the front door of the tabernacle. Not at all. It actually reached into every single part of an Israelite's daily life, constantly teaching them what it meant to be set apart for God. I mean, just look at this list. It covers everything. The laws about clean and unclean things might seem really random to us today, but they had a very clear purpose. They were designed to teach Israel to depend on God's word for everything. From the food they put on their plate, to the hygiene in their homes, to their cooking pots, every little choice became an act of worship, a way of saying God's way is the right way. Let's take the laws about disease, for example. These were really powerful. If someone had an infectious skin disease, they were declared unclean. And what that meant was they had to be separated from the whole community. They had to live outside the camp,
totally cut off from everyone else.
The text is so blunt about it. He must live alone. He must live outside the camp. Imagine that. This physical separation was this powerful, visible, daily reminder of a much, much deeper spiritual truth. It was like a living parable.
So you have to ask yourself, right? What's the point of all this? What was God trying to illustrate? Well, think about it. Just like a contagious disease separates a person from other people, the Bible teaches us that sin is like a spiritual disease, and what does it do? It separates people from a holy God. Sin destroys fellowship. The physical reality was just pointing to a profound spiritual one.
Okay, so after all this talk about priests and sacrifices and rules about separation, you might be wondering, where is this all going? Well, the truth is the entire system, all of it, was like a giant arrow. It was pointing forward to something, or rather, to someone much, much greater.
The system in Leviticus, what we call the Old Covenant, was absolutely brilliant at one thing: diagnosing the problem. That problem was separation. It constantly hammered home the massive gap between a holy God and sinful people. But that whole system was always pointing forward to the new covenant, the new relationship with God made possible by Jesus. And this new way, it provides the ultimate solution. Where the old system had a flawed human priest, we now have Jesus, our perfect priest. Where it required endless animal sacrifices, we now have his one single perfect sacrifice that covers all sin, forever.
And really, that's the ultimate takeaway. The rules and rituals in Leviticus are not just some dusty ancient history. No, they are a masterfully designed system that creates this profound sense of need in us, a need for a perfect priest, a need for a perfect sacrifice. Leviticus shows us the problem in vivid, unforgettable detail so that when we finally turn the page to the New Testament, we don't just see an answer, we see the answer. And his name is Jesus Christ, the one who finally and forever bridges that impossible gap between a holy God and the people he loves.